This succulent is one of my favorite agavoides cultivars as it's both beautiful and super easy to grow. Echeveria agavoides lipstick, also known as the red edge, is just one of the many cultivars of highly variable Echeveria agavoides, which is native to Mexico. It's also, in my opinion, one of the best and hardiest. Lipstick can sometimes be mistaken for another cultivar called ebony. Here are the two side by side. The rosette grows on a low stalk close to the ground. Individual plants can reach approximately 20 cm or 8 inches in diameter and 15 cm or 4 inches in height when grown in ideal conditions. Lipstick grows a good amount of offsets and forms clumps. Each offset will then go on to produce offsets of their own. A clump can measure well over 40 cm, which is 16 inches in diameter. For clumps to grow to this size though, the plant will have to have a decent space and good nutrients to fuel all the extra growth. The leaves form a symmetrical rosette shape. They are long, wide and pointy. Unlike many other Echeveria, agavoides don't produce the dusty farina but instead have shiny, almost wax-polished look. Echeveria agavoides are for this reason also called molded wax agave. Color can change throughout the year based on seasons, temperature and sun exposure. During the warmer months, lipstick will be almost entirely green but can have a bit of that red edge going. Once the cold season comes along, the leaves will grow bright red around the edges, almost looking like someone smeared them with a blood red lipstick. As mentioned earlier, lipstick is a hardy plant that can be grown outdoors all year round in climates that only get very mild frost but no snow. It's a sun lover and will grow best when exposed to at least 4 to 6 hours of sun outdoors. If you have a shade cloth, 30% is ideal. It will tolerate bright shade and filtered light, but the leaves may elongate, the tips are unlikely to grow colorful, the shape can become a bit leggy and overall stretched out. Shade also tends to be more humid at ground level, which may attract fungal disease such as rot or powdery mildew. Lipstick is not suitable to be grown indoors other than for overwintering. The only time this plant will have a chance at surviving inside is if it's grown under plant growing lights suitable for succulents, in a super bright sunroom or by a large window. In frost-free climates, it makes a gorgeous garden plant. It's perfect for rockeries or as an edging plant. If you're planting succulents in the garden, a slope or a spot where water drains well after rain is ideal. Lipstick will grow well in pots as well, though do make sure to repot about once per year for optimal growth and to get those offsets growing. An upgrade to a bigger pot each year is also best. But if you don't mind it growing a bit smaller or slower, you can also repot into the same pot using fresh succulent potting mix. When grown in pots, succulent potting mix will give you the best results. It should have the right pH and good drainage. In the garden, heavy soil should be broken up and enhanced by adding any type of potting mix. Even generic stuff will do. Echeveria have thin roots and can have trouble breaking through hard soil, which will result in stunted growth. If the garden soil is prepared well, lipstick clumps can get massive. When it comes to watering, as long as good quality succulent potting mix is used in pots, Echeveria lipstick should not show any adverse signs to overwatering or too much rain. It is important the plant gets enough sun and that the pot has holes so the water does not clog the roots. If, however, the weather is way too humid and rainy, powdery mildew can sometimes attack the foliage. In my experience, lipstick is not as prone to fungal disease as other Echeveria. If you do spot mildew or other fungus, using a fungicide regularly during rainy spells should help. If the plant is in a greenhouse or under cover, water once the potting mix dries up from previous watering. In the ground, the lipstick will often take care of itself and survive on rain alone. Having said that, during heat waves or drought, it will thank you for a good soak every other day. Temperature-wise, this succulent should tolerate very mild frosts to about -2 degrees Celsius or 28 Fahrenheit. If the frost settles, it may harm the plant and cause burn marks. Deeper frost and snow are likely to cause death. During summer, lipstick tends to deal well with heat waves and high temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius or 104 Fahrenheit, but to avoid sunburn and heat-related stress, morning sun afternoon shade position should be considered during extreme heat. Pot plants especially can suffer sunburn when very hot. Garden plants are a little more hardy, but even they can burn in direct sun once the temperature goes over 40 degrees Celsius. The flowers are gorgeous. They grow on tall stalks arching over the rosettes. The closed buds are orange, but as they open, the color turns slightly more red on the outside. The inside petals become yellow with a hint of orange. In my part of the world, lipstick flowers at the end of winter and through spring. If you see lots of aphids around but still want to enjoy the flowers, you can use them as cut flowers and pop them in a vase indoors. Echeveria lipstick can be propagated from offsets, leaves and seed. Propagating offsets is the easiest out of the three. Seeds are the most difficult. While possible, it can prove hard to raise this plant from seed, plus it takes a long time for seeds to get to a decent size. In addition, it can be nigh on impossible to find a reliable seller that will actually sell you seed that has not been contaminated with pollen of other succulents or seeds that are viable. When propagating offsets, I would recommend to wait until the pups are a good size with a long enough stalk that can be cut or pulled. Agavoides offsets can be incredibly difficult to separate at an early age as the leaves grow tightly together and the pups are often nestled right in between. However, they will eventually push themselves out enough. Once separated, the offsets should be left to dry for about a day and then planted in pots filled with succulent potting mix. If you want loads of babies, leaf propagation is the way to go. Lipstick has a great success rate for an agavoides and a single leaf can produce as many as 3 or 4 rosettes. To get easier access to the most bottom leaves, remove the plant from the pot. The whole leaf needs to come off and nothing of it should be left on the stalk. Broken leaves may have hard time to produce a leaf baby. One huge problem with leaf propagation is separating lipstick's leaves. Due to their size and thickness, they more often than not break. Here I'm pretty much wasting one leaf after another. This lipstick is pretty plump and filled up with water. I find thirsty plants are more willing to give up their leaves. For a plant this thick, it can take over 3 weeks to dry it out enough. Whichever propagation method is used, Echeveria lipstick should only be propagated in the growing season. In my experience, they propagate best in spring. Summer may also be good, though do be careful young plants don't get burned in strong summer sun. Lipstick is susceptible to all the usual succulent pests, but thankfully it is not one of the favorites. Aphids will attack the flowers, while the odd mealybug can also burrow itself between the leaves and can be very hard to spot due to the leaves growing tightly together. Root mealybugs are common in root-bound plants. Snails, slugs, caterpillars and grasshoppers may also take a bite every now and again. Snails and slugs in particular love to hide in mature lipsticks, so if you see bigger chunks being eaten, have a good look at the very bottom leaves. Just like all Echeveria, lipstick is not toxic to humans, dogs, cats, other pets or livestock and is safe to have around plant-curious pets or kids, though I would not recommend to eat this plant as food. And that is all you need to know about Echeveria lipstick. If you have anything to add or want to ask a question, you can do so in the comments below. To learn more about succulents, hit the subscribe button or go to our website succulentgrowingtips.com. Thank you very much for watching.